Hey, Mom. Can you hear me okay? Make sure everything's working. It's fine. Okay. Yeah. Serious issues that need attention. Okay, well, if you can still see me, it tells me that it's locked up on my YouTube page. But if you can still hear and see me okay, not too glitchy or anything. This mustache is terrible, man. Hey, Sean, how are you? Good to see you. Oh. Hey, Nancy. Nancy says, didn't see you come on. How's everything going in VA? Things are going well. We just started. You haven't missed anything. I was just getting my tea ready and making sure that the stream was working. Hello, Karen. Good to see you. I have my special Fort Lauderdale mug. Oh, it's locked. Doggone it. Okay, well, we'll see how it goes. So, a couple things. We have our jam and lemon ginger tea. That's good. What I don't have is much internet left. Modern Yeoman says he's doing good with Sean and he loves the stash. It's a piece of work. Very itchy. I'm not a fan, but we're gonna roll with it. It's for the children. Our internet provider allows us something like 150 megabytes, gigabytes, 150 gigabytes worth of data a month. But when you hit 100, they start throttling it. So we're trying the mobile hotspot tonight because I'm out of the high-speed data until the 4th. So we're going to try and make it work tonight with that. If I'm a bit scatterbrained, we were up a lot last night at the station. Nothing serious, just up a lot. And then I had a recertification class today, so I didn't get home until late this afternoon. So I'm a little groggy, so I apologize in advance. Something else I noticed, I've been talking to some of you guys as we've been doing these live streams, and I realized in the last one I was answering questions that I was reading, but I was not reading them out loud. And somebody had commented that they like to listen to these live streams while they're driving. And so I will endeavor in the future to read the question out loud to make sure that it makes sense. So, Free Gen X Bear says Dave wishes he had your stash game. I'm pretty sure my brother actually can grow more facial hair than me. He's just blonder, so it doesn't highlight quite as much. But we have a lot to cover tonight. Big news is our house actually sold. The one that we moved out of to come to here. They signed all the papers. The appraisal came back. Everything is good. And the money has cleared the bank. It's a very weird feeling. The only time we ever sold a house before was in 2008 when the market collapsed and everything was terrible. And we lost a lot on that sale. And since then, we haven't sold any houses. We've bought 3 houses since then. One is now a rental. We just sold one, and then of course the farm that we live in now. So if you noticed when I sent the community moment or whatever, there was a truck in the background. We were able to secure a 2001 Ford F-350 four-door dually diesel. And I bought it because it's the 7.3 liter, and I don't know how many of you are gearheads, but the 7.3 liter that Ford used in those motors, I think they were from something like 90, 92 or something up to about 03, were like the best diesel motors they ever made. And they run forever and ever and ever. And my old neighbor at the place we used to live at had this one for sale, so he sold it to us for a very, very reasonable price. So now we have a farm truck. And here in Virginia, they let you do farm tags. And there are two different levels of farm tags. One is strictly no registration, no state inspection, no insurance, no nothing. But you can only use it to drive from like one piece of property to the other piece of property, or you can use it for like going to pick up a piece of equipment, or taking it to the mechanics, or going to the dump. And that's it. There's like no other exceptions. There's a registered farm tag use, which is like half the registration fee, and you still kind of need insurance, but you don't need the state inspection. And you can go to all the things I mentioned before, but you can also go to like a farmer's market with your produce. You can take your animals to slaughter. You can go to church. You can go to the grocery store. So pretty much anything we would use it for. So that's the route we're going to go with the truck, so it's not that expensive. But really, it's going to sit out in the field and be there and for when we need it to go take, if Lucy had something happen, we can go take Lucy and get fixed. If we purchase another tractor in the future, I can go get it because we have the equipment trailer now. Nancy Steer says, glad to hear the house sale went well. Hard to get a truck nowadays. It's extremely hard to get a truck. It's an 01, and it has 428,000 miles on it, which for the 7.3 liter diesel, that's broke in. So we expect many more thousands of miles, but considering the price of diesel, we're not going to be driving it very much. But it is very cool to have another layer of that kind of self-sufficiency sitting there. So that's great. The other thing is we received some more money after I sent that thank you for the 50% thing. Let me get the card. Hold on. I know I'm going to AFK. I should have planned this better. Okay, I'm back. That wasn't too long, was it? Donna sent a card because she doesn't believe in PayPal, and she sent some money with it, and she also sent some really cool seeds that we're very excited about. So I was going to actually order the mic like on the stream with my phone and show you all that we were ordering it, but I can't do that because I'm using it for the stream. So when this is over, we're going to order that microphone. Somebody also sent the adapter cable that we needed to plug the microphone into the camera. So we're going to order that tomorrow. Hey, Donna, I was just saying thank you for your card and the contribution and the seeds. The seeds were great. So Sean the Modern Yeoman says, does this truck get a name too? I'm not sure. I haven't thought actually about it at all. I was very excited. We picked it up the day we signed papers. So, Big John for the truck name, says Nancy. There actually is a Big John gas station just around the corner, so that would actually work out really well. But everybody would think Big John owned it. We're working on a... Hey, Rosehaven says she's present with flannel attire. Woo! Yeah, Kelly says, I think you can retrofit diesel to run off used veggie oil, and the gal from Splash had a Mustang she did that with. So, yes, you can. And there's a whole system you can make to convert old used oil from restaurants and stuff to run on diesel. So that's something I would like to look into in the future, in case gas gets really, really expensive. And if you can get people to give it to you because you haul it away, it could be useful. But it's just one more project on a list of many, many projects. But for now, we're much more self-sufficient. If one of our cars breaks, we can put it onto the flatbed trailer that we have, the equipment hauler, and actually pull it with the truck someplace if needed. So here's all over the place tonight. Very 70s looking. Ricky, yeah. Rose Evans says, obviously we must name the truck Ricky to go with Lucy the tractor. That's true. It is a good one. It's so much bigger though, and Lucy and Ricky were like the same size. I think Ricky would have to be like a harvester or something. I don't know. And it needs to be much darker because it's a very, very white truck, and we don't want any appropriation with Ricky's character. What I wanted to talk to you guys tonight a little bit about, and I know the hook, What's Wrong with America, and we could probably go on for quite a long time about what is wrong with America, but I think part of what we've messed up on, and I'm going to use a lot of generalizations, so don't take any of this personally, and these are just observations. Obviously, there are exceptions to the rules, but I don't think, and I'm also a Christian man, so if it sounds like I'm getting all spiritual on you, it's probably because I am, but most of I try and base my life around the Word of God, so a lot of what comes, we are going to so previous generations, I don't think, especially boomers, and not all boomers, my parents pulled all of us, my brother was the first one to go to school, they pulled him out, and the rest of us were homeschooled back in the 80s. They were very good at seeing around the corner. My dad was a student of history, and he studied people who had studied this, and these generational swings and these arcs, right? Donna says, you're welcome. Just know that if God didn't bless us, we could not bless you. Also need to thank your brother's daughter for the package of the seeds. The tomatoes. She sent me 2, so I paid it forward. Well, thank you, Donna, and I will send her a thank you as well. So the boomers especially did not do a good job of raising their kids to think about the next generation. And I don't think boomers did a very good job about thinking about the next generation. Again, some exceptions to the rules. But boomers have amassed more wealth than any other generation in history, and they've spent most of it on themselves, and it's not good. Now, if you look at, there are several books out there that help you get an idea of how these culture swings go. One of them is called The Pendulum. And The Pendulum he's a guy that talks about how we go from the me culture to the we culture and back and forth in between them forever. This is just the way it goes. And the height of the me culture was in the 80s, and that was when, the rise of Wall Street and grab all you can grab, and you look out for number one and the ruthless businessman type thing. And now we are like 1 year away from this total swing over into the me movement, or the we movement, excuse me, and the collective, and everything is about the whole and all this stuff, which sounds really nice and utopian. But what it ends up becoming is what we've been seeing in culture these days, where if you don't agree with the proper line, whatever that line might be, or identity, or whatever, then you're canceled. You aren't even allowed to have an opinion on it, because you are upsetting the collective. It's all about the collective. And it's not in the good way, like you would think, community and working together. And we are peaking at that, and we're starting to swing the other way, which is good because it's kind of in the middle where those sweet spots are. If you remember in the 90s, and really it was mostly the 90s, it was do whatever you want, right? If it feels good, do it. And like the 60s, which was another swing. As long as it didn't affect me, you could do whatever you wanted, and as long as what I did didn't affect you, I haven't heard that in probably 15 years, and not that it's necessarily the best philosophy to begin with, but that's nothing like what we're doing now. I mean, you can't even question things without getting canceled, and since when could you not even ask questions? And so while some of us had parents that raised us to think generationally, I think as a culture we've lost it. And I am an early wave millennial. Apparently there's like multiple waves of millennial. And the early wave is different than the second wave. And I'm not that good at that stuff. But what I have discovered is there are a lot of late Xers and early millennials who are not buying the lie. And Nancy says, we trust the government too much. Put your faith in God, not in government. Amen. We do. We put our faith in man, in man's systems. And I must confess I have done this, not with government so much, but, hey, Floribama, welcome, but institutions, okay? So, for example, I'm sure a lot of you heard, you grow up, you go to college, you get a job, you get the health insurance, and everything, you get taken care of. Everything is good. You can, if you get a job with a big corporation, you can trust that your paycheck will be there or whatever. And those are also just fallen institutions that are run by humans. And when they fail, we should not be surprised. And we shouldn't put our faith that our health is dependent on health insurance or on the paycheck or on whatever. As Nancy said, we put our faith in God, the one who provided all these things to begin with. So I have met a lot of millennials and some Xers who are not buying the system anymore. And we are pulling, if you've seen the amount of kids that are getting pulled out of school now, it's great, but we should have done it 30 years ago, and the system would look a whole lot different. But there are people who are not buying into the rat race, and they're not turning into like hippy-dippy, peace, love, and hair grease, or whatever it is, and riding around in 60s Volkswagens and playing guitar. Hey, Rip. They're looking for community again, and they're looking for fellowship again, and they're looking to reduce their dependence. And I think a lot of you guys are that way, and it's probably preaching to the choir, but that's what we feel like. We want to be a resource to the community around us. We want to take care of our families, and we have trusted government institutions, Medicaid, Medicare, food stamps, and all these other things that have taken the place of family, and they've taken the place of church. So my priorities have been my wife, which God gave me, my partner in crime, and then my kids, secondary. They're my next ministry, the thing I'm responsible for. After that is my church, and we take care of the brethren first. I believe there's a verse in Galatians that says, do good to all, but especially the brethren. And then you do good to all, which is what the first part of the verse says. We take care of our communities. And we ingrain that. If you go to college and get health insurance and everything else, then you're great. And if your 401k looks a certain kind of way and all these other things, they're straw men. They're not guarantees. They're not securities. They're not anything. So Rip says, we're pulling out of the system, quit my corporate job, homeschooling, and starting my own business. Amen to that. Amen to that. Rosehaven says, schools were teaching nonsense when I was in school, and that was a long time ago. Yes, absolutely. And that's part of the problem, right? So I live in Virginia, and there's this big governor race going on, and I don't like to talk about politics because politics are the result of, or your view on politics is a result of your belief system. So talking about politics is ancillary. What I like to know is what people's belief systems are. And Terry McAuliffe, who's a Democrat, I'm sure you guys, if you watch any news at all, came out and said essentially that parents have no business being the we culture and the collective culture and these kids that think socialism is a great idea because it's all about everyone and all this happy, love, peace, and hair grease. That's really what they believe, is that they are the experts. And us poor dopey parents who are tangled up in the blinds and wouldn't know our elbow from our eyeball if it wasn't for the federal government to tell us so. I have no business telling the experts what to teach. So, Simon says, just turning in, ready to rant. And I don't know a whole lot about the other candidate, Glenn Youngkin, except that he seems like a pretty vanilla Republican. So, he might be poison light. I'm not really sure. But Terry McAuliffe said the inside thing on the outside and then can't believe it when people got upset. But when we put our kids in public school, we have essentially signed them over to the government. It's what we've done for 8 hours or however many hours a day it is now, where they get indoctrinated. That way. Is that more center? Is that more center? We don't want to be center. Which way is right on your screen? We want to be to the right. Just kidding. But part of the generational thing that I wanted to discuss with you guys isn't just the spiritual aspect of trying to impart our walk with the Lord to our kids. That's obviously the main goal. But are we thinking about providing for our kids generationally? And on one hand, we're talking about, leaving the 401k and all that stuff and not putting our faith in that. But are you leaving an inheritance for your children? And there's a spiritual inheritance, which is the most important. So if it's the only inheritance you can leave that one. The rest of it. But Danielle, my wife and I, we were talking today as we're walking around looking at these trees, and we found some maple trees. They're not sugar maples. They're, what are they, red maples? The maple trees? Silver maple? I don't know where she went. She's my plant lady. But we were marking these maple trees because we wanted to try and tap them for some sap later. And we were looking up different trees we could order from the forestry department. And they're $3 for like bare root. And there was hazelnut and black walnut and all these other things. And, we're talking 10 years before those things are ready to produce. And we're walking around looking at some of these tree stumps that are out in our place. There's these massive old trees. And she said, we'll never see these trees get this big. I said, we won't, but our kids might, and our grandkids might. And that's the kind of generational thinking that we should be doing. Even if we never develop this property the way I want, but we get the ball rolling. And I know this might sound ridiculous, but we're already like wanting to buy more land to expand. But we want it for the kids and the grandkids and our community. So we've had several people have their jobs threatened by certain actions or inactions that they may be taking. And it's really hard to uproot, switch careers, potentially move out of state if you have to keep paying all your bills. So we have offered our homestead to several of these families as a temporary place that they could come stay while they potentially have to pivot and switch careers. So it's our senior high school separated from our society, misrepresented. One day it collapses inevitable. Betty says he's not a murderer. One good point. Yes, Youngkin is pro-life. So if you're not for murder, then he's got to be better than the other guy. But I'm sure someone will let you dig up some black walnuts. The squirrels plant ours. Nice. Yeah, they might. We're working on getting to know our neighbors. But that's the mindset we're trying to have with this place. It's not about, like the boomer thing where you sell everything you have and you buy an RV and you cut ties with everything that you had in that community and you leave. And I still talk to neighbors that I had 2 residences ago because even though we were in the middle of the city, we tried very hard to be a part of the community. And we have had like open house events. We had Christmas parties, we had Thanksgiving parties, and we just invited whoever and everybody. And we did our best to live as a witness for them. And that's something that I think a lot of us are trying to get back to, right? The whole buy local thing is a desperate attempt to find community. And I think where our churches are failing is we aren't treating each other like family, because so many families over the past 40 years have been dysfunctional, we don't even know what family looks like anymore. So I likened it to gangs, which might sound ridiculous, but why do kids join gangs? When you know that you're going to be asked to do something illegal, you could potentially go to jail forever, snitches get stitches, and yet kids flock to gangs in places where family is defunct. And that's because it provides a sense of community, right? Ride or die, blood in, blood out. Well, there's no leaving the mob. Once you join the family, you can't leave. There's only one way out, and it's concrete shoes. And our churches seem to be like flavor of the week. If you don't tickle the ears, if the music isn't just so, then some churches do need to be left. I'm not saying there's never a case to leave your churches. But we don't treat other believers like the blood in, blood out. And I think if we did that, we would look a whole lot different to the world, and we could make a huge impact on America. So I think that's something that we need to focus on, and we need to do like what we're doing here and other channels have done, and we're creating community digitally, right? Because we don't live that close to each other. Although I am going out on Thursday to see Bill Elrod and his wife Tammy. They have invited us over to their place. They're only less than 2 hours away, like in person, that I wouldn't have met otherwise. He was following my brother's channel for like 3 years when they decided to start gardening and doing these kind of things. And so we're going to have a chance to go have actual like in-person fellowship with somebody from this community that, you know, we've created over the past few months. And I'm just so excited. I can't believe it. It's awesome. So I think that we need to be, in a good way, more like gangs in our communities, and not in an exclusionary way. You know, if you don't go, you know, cut down a tree somewhere, then you ain't part of no gang. But looking out for each other, being available to each other, not expecting anything in return, and if we all try and outgive each other, it's going to be great. So, and whether you're a Christian or not, those principles apply. So if you're wondering, you know, if I am moonbat crazy, yes. But if you live your life according to biblical principles, even if you're not a Christian, it will go well with you. You'll just not go to heaven. So just commit all the way. So Donna says, study what happened when Hitler was alive. Study how the kids were being brainwashed. Then their parents were sent to their death, and those children still in school didn't know it. Oh, World War II and the era surrounding it, all the way from like 33 up through like 47 are like my favorite time period. So, Nancy says, I have planted 2 fruit trees every year, and I'm 68, and they will provide food for someone. Amen. That's right. Will says, been planting like a madman for the last few years. The Lord put it in my heart when I renewed my walk with him to start learning to grow food. I'm doing it for my grandson. Absolutely. Absolutely. Modern Yeoman says, there's value in creating a parallel economy. You can't work in the system, you create your own. That is absolutely true. And that's something that I think a lot of us are working on. And if they don't want us, then we don't have to go. And if enough people who claimed to live their lives a certain kind of way pulled out, it would collapse. There's just too many of us. So, your flannel is purple. Ooh, mine's blue. But it probably might look purple on the thing. I need to get some more buffalo with the actual red flannel. So, Illuminati confirmed. Oh no. Man. So, I think we have confused in many ways patriotism with Christianity in America. And we have wrapped the church in the flag. And any nation that kills 60 million unborn kids is not God's. So I think as Christians, in some ways, we need to disengage from that. And if America pulls through because of us focusing on the Lord's kingdom, wonderful. And if it doesn't, it wasn't the kingdom to focus on in the first place. So, Rip, I talked a little bit about the new truck, but I will tell you briefly what it is, because I really like it. It's a 2001 F350 4-door, full-size 4-door, there's a fly, dually 7.3 liter diesel. So it's got 428 or 429,000 miles on it. Almost all are highway miles, and it's in incredibly good shape. The guy that had it took amazing care of it. Like, the interior is immaculate, but there's like one tear in the seat. So it's amazing. It's very, very cool. Yeah, the 7.3 liter. So that was their best diesel that they ever made. So he came for the truck talk. I took it to my buddy who owns a diesel repair shop, and he said it's in great shape. The brakes are good, no rust on the frame or cross rails. Transmission's in good shape. The only thing that's really wrong with it if you could even say that, is the relay switch for the air conditioning blower is either off or high. There's no other setting, but that's an easy switch to fix. So exactly, Jeremy, it's bulletproof. So what we're planning on doing is leaving it in the field. We have an equipment trailer also, and whenever we need to haul something or pull a tree out or, you know, pull a Chevy off its rims, we'll just use the diesel. So several people have said we should name it. I'm not sure what we're going to name it yet. So I think it's too pale for Ricky because we don't want to appropriate that culture. So we'll have to think of something. So yeah, mistrusting the World War II narrative. Here's the thing that kills me about World War II, right? Russia ended up, or the USSR, taking over all the stuff that Hitler wanted, and we just stopped. So how much tyranny did we really prevent? I'm not sure, but it is an automatic transmission, so, but it's good. Unicorn truck, yeah, yep. I couldn't believe it. I didn't really need the diesel. What I really wanted was kind of an extended cab with an 8-foot bed and maybe 4x4 because I don't do a whole lot of towing, but it's actually more truck than I could ever use. And in that case, I do like having, you know, if a 16-inch chainsaw will do good, then buy the 20. That's kind of been my philosophy. So, but I really bought it because it had the 7.3 liter in it, and it was in such good shape. So, hey, Carolyn, how are you? Name it Bert. Maybe I'll name it Ernie. So, that was most of what I had for you guys this evening. Was be encouraged, be brave, do the right thing, and if they hate you for doing good, then good. If they don't like you because you're not doing what you're supposed to, well, that's what we're not supposed to like. So, you can do it. We can do it. We don't need them. And there's a book called The Benedict Option by the same guy. I don't know if you guys have read, pardon me, you didn't write it. Have you read? Like I said, we had a long night. I'm a little tired. Sometimes the words don't work so well. But there's a book called The Benedict Option. And what it essentially talks about is how monks preserved culture during the Dark Ages by pulling out from everything. And they obviously didn't pull away from each other. The monasteries were connected and things like that, and they communicated and kept records and all that stuff. And they made, you know, headway in medicine and science and all these things. So that is, he also wrote a book called Live Not by Lies, where you just don't accept the narrative anymore. You don't have to go protest. You don't have to do a big thing. You just don't accept it. We just don't abide by it. And I think we've been quiet for too long because, I mean, our jobs are on the line. Well, what's worth more, your soul or your job? So, you don't like her. Yeah, I think he's Orthodox. Catholic Orthodox? But he's got some good points. So, I think that's what we're doing. I think that's what a lot of us are doing. A lot of us are just saying no more. And when your food is dependent on these companies and your electricity is dependent on these companies and, you know, my internet's dependent on these companies and all these things, your livelihood, then you are beholden because we have no other option. Other options. And if nothing else, make the options available for your kids. So I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with Joe Salatin and have heard his parents' story about how, I believe it was Argentina, they were down there and the government came and confiscated all their land. So they moved up to Virginia and they bought however many hundreds of acres they bought, and they worked full time, and they never really realized the dream. They started it, but it was Joel who took it and ran and is making a living doing it. So you're nodding off this time. Oh man, I'm putting you to sleep. I'm sorry. Fishes and Loaves Life says, I am nodding off this time. I can always nap and not go to sleep and then stay that way all night. Yay, aging. But that's what I'm hoping. So if I'm never able to quit my job, which I love my fire department job, but I like being on my homestead more, then maybe we can get something going. Maybe the stump grinding will be going enough that my son can take it over, and we can teach our kids to not only walk the spiritual walk, but to be able to thrive with their own hands. And so that's what we're aiming for. So when a lot of the immigrants came over in the early Ellis Island days, what we all like to, at least in American history, look back as the golden age of immigration. Take that for what it's worth. There was a saying, though, among them that it was short sleeves to suit sleeves in 2 generations. So the first generation knew they were going to come here and work their butts off to provide that second boost for their kids, and by the time the grandkids rolled around, they had it great. So that's what we're trying to kind of do, except backwards, out of the suits and back into working clothes, flannels, make stuff with your hands. So, Sean the Modern Yeoman says that, Brian, you started your own business. It was such a smart move. We're trying. There's a long way to go before it's making enough money to do anything, but you got to start somewhere, and you just have to make the decision to do it. And it's a lot of work and a lot of effort on our end. But we're not raising snowflakes. The idea isn't to protect your kids from everything that's bad. The idea is to give it to them in small doses, so that when they're old enough to face the world, they're strong. If you give a kid everything they want, you ruin them. If they don't face hardship, they're worthless. So you have to meter dose out what you let them take. My wife and I were talking today about somebody who was shielded from everything growing up. Their parents never talked to them about anything bad. And this person's mom had cancer and all this other stuff, and whenever anything would happen, treatments and stuff, they would send this kid away, always away, 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 to protect them. And now that they're an adult, they're scared of everything. They don't have any idea how to handle anything that goes wrong. They have no resiliency. And I'm not raising dragon slayers for nothing. I want them to go out and be strong. So yeah, that's what we're trying to do, is to get it started for them. And I know a lot of you are doing the same thing. So, robbing the Egyptians, exactly. David the Good says, I like what you said about robbing the Egyptians. For those of you that don't know, the story of the children of Israel, when they were in Egypt, when they were on their way out after all the plagues and everything else, and God had demonstrated his power, the Egyptians gave them everything just so they would leave. Right? Take all your stuff, take our stuff, take all of our gold, take our treasure, take whatever's left that we have, and just get out. Go away. So robbing isn't even the right term, right? They were given it to go away. So I am all about making some money off of people that have no belief structure like mine. Not cheating, not robbing, obviously, any of those things. But if we are going to use the resources for good, then we should have them. So, how many Big Macs will a wheelbarrow buy them anyways? Plain label Christian, Nancy says, God is good, flannel is warm. Amen. Yep, Red Cabin says, yep, it's time to roll up our sleeves and get back to work. Which part, Jeremy, do you want me to say in Russian accent? I will say, but I did not see what comment was you wanted said in Russian. He's sorry. Kelly says, I tried that with my kids, but none like to garden, animal husbandry, or canning, but they know how if they need to. I was sad to close my farm stand, but it was my dream to pass it on to them. It was not their dream. Yeah, Kelly, that does happen. My dad was in full-time ministry, and I never saw myself doing that. I never felt like that was something that I should do. I've always kind of been a blue-collar guy. I always wanted to work with my hands. I did, a few years ago, go through the ordination process at my church because I was trying to do chaplaincy with the fire department on a volunteer basis, and you had to get ordained to do it, so I went through it. And then the fire department told me I couldn't volunteer where I worked. So I should hold the mug this way so you can see the Fort Lauderdale, where I grew up, where there was no farm stands. Sometimes our kids don't pick the paths that we pick. But what my dad wanted me to do was follow the Lord, and that's what we're doing. So his legacy carries on. But sometimes the kids just, and my kids might not. And, you know, we might die and leave the farm to them, and it gets sold. It happens with a lot of farms, and it's still not a waste. What you taught them was not a waste, because they can always fall back on it. And you showed them how to provide for themselves, and that's invaluable. And you never know what's going to turn them around, when they're might want that. Gosh, it's so big. I can't tell. It's backwards. Let's see. Kids are like seedlings. You got to protect them when they're very little, but you got to start hardening them when the conditions are right. They will grow strong then. Yep, exactly. Donna says, now grandkids will have it great because it's going to hand to them without work unless their parents and grandparents think like you. Yep. Children aren't, Nancy says, children really aren't as stupid as their parents think. Include them and let them know what's going on. Yeah, Nancy. So that's one of the hardest things, to be honest. I know you guys have seen in the videos the kids helping me around the place. And sometimes it's very difficult to hand your kid a tool or explain what you're doing, because I'm a very goal-oriented person. So I want to accomplish these things. And I don't like to waste time. And if I have 95 things I'm trying to get done that day, I might get 3 of them done if I spend the whole day explaining. But in the end, what is the purpose of my life but to impart to my kids what we know? And, you know, the Bible says whether you're walking or sitting or sleeping, you will talk to them about these things. You will teach them the law. So sometimes I have to put my own kind of selfish desire to accomplish a whole bunch of things on hold and teach them. And I think I let them do more potentially than they might be ready for. I always expect a lot out of them. So I let them do things probably faster than a lot of people do. They've driven the tractor early. They've used power tools early, climbed stuff early. So far, they have all their limbs. We've only been to the ER for one of them once. So, yeah. Kids need to know how to handle life. How I feel about fiat. I have a prediction that chickens will be a form of currency in 10 years. Did you know, I think it was in the 1500s, that the Dutch used tulips as a form of currency? Our money doesn't mean anything. It's not even real. So, and I am investing in gold and silver as a hedge against inflation. But if somebody's starving to death, they're not going to give you their bread no matter how much gold you offer them. So in many ways, I think knowing how to produce and being able to make your own food is the most valuable thing you can do in material type possessions. So let's see. Oh man, chat is rolling. I am missing stuff. David the Good says, I bought materials to make a 10x8 PVC chicken tractor today, over $300. Holy cow. Yes, Simmons, the Amish got their systems figured out early on. Yes. Yep, they don't care what's going on. If an EMP hits, they are set. So, kids or individuals. College or trade school, Jeremy says. I am a firm believer in trade school unless there's a very specific reason to go to college. There are certain careers and professions that you have to go to college for, but I think it's way more valuable to know how to fix things. And rewarding. I've had office jobs, and I hate them. The fire department is the closest thing to an office job I can do. And, nope, can't do it. So, trades all the ways, yep. Yeah, Nancy. Nancy says, Mormons have some good ideas about how to survive hard times. This is something I meant to bring up, and you reminded me. Thank you. We must have... She's like-minded, Nancy. You and me. One of the things the Mormons are very good at is training their kids with long-term visions in mind, right? Mitt Romney, if I'm not mistaken, was a Mormon. And he's not a unique guy in that sense. They train them very specifically to go out, get very good educations, and then get very high up into things in order to influence them. That is the whole point, is to exert influence. And we have done like the opposite because we don't want to offend anybody. We just want to be nice and hope they like us. But we should be exerting, right? Light should change a room when it comes on. Salt should change your food. So that's something we've missed, and I think we need to get back at. Oh my goodness. I grew up in Davie, Carolyn says. I had a house in North Lauderdale for 10 years, been in North Florida for 25 years now. Yep. Born and raised in Fort Lauderdale, Florida for just about 19 years. Spent a couple years over in Clearwater, Hudson area, going to Word of Life Bible Institute. And then 2 years in Ocala, then we moved to Georgia, and then we moved here. So, beers are flammable. Yeah, you're not wrong. Oh my goodness. Beer, there's some turkeys yet. Yeah, William says, my wife is panicking because no stores have turkeys yet. I think we're going to be raising meat boots soon if turkeys don't show up on the store shelves soon. Yeah, they're not. It's a sketchy situation. They're saying that this Thanksgiving is going to be the most expensive one in history. So, Red Cabin Woodsman says, forgot about the fire department. Yeah, that's my day job. So you got to do something to make some money for now. So that's what we're doing. So. I hope sweet potatoes are the new gold, Nancy says. Heard that. We have some sweet potatoes that we can't wait to try this coming year. So, cryptocurrency, oof. Well, all money's fake anyways, right? So, if you can make a $1 trillion in it real quick, great. But I would only use money you can afford to lose on a cryptocurrency. If you throw $500 at Shubicoin or Doggo or whatever the latest one is, and it goes up 800%, great. And if it crashes, you only lost $500. It's not that terrible. So, A Fishes in Love says, I pounded nails into boards young, but projects I was really more like a undertrained ER nurse from my dad. He would name the tool and I would hand it to him. Miss those days. Yeah, that's good stuff. Oh my goodness. Well, first of all, you can't say the Z word here. No Z word. There. Gone. And in order to not offend somebody who's here, we cannot have the Z word. Go offline and go to bed. David the Good, please tell my husband about Bitcoin and Shiba. Please help me. That guy is driving me crazy. Do they have a Publix? They do have a Publix here over in Williamsburg. I love Publix. We also have a thing up here called Harris Teeter, which is kind of like their version of Publix. It's very fancy. You can get sushi there, and they have like a salad bar, and it's very tasty. And apples are $85 a pound, but they're really red. Oh my goodness. Plenty of money, let them run. Yep. That's why, yeah. I wouldn't put your life savings in it, into crypto, but if you have a couple $100 to toss around, give it the old college try. So, oh my goodness. You wish it was only 500. Okay, well, yeah. I don't know how much you should put in crypto. I guess it's dependent on your portfolio. But I wouldn't put more than, I think it's 10% into crazy stuff that could make you rich, or it might be worthless. But that's up to you. I'm not your dad. So, Della Champs. I've never had Della Champs. William says Publix is the new Della Champs. So, Elon Musk. Oh my gosh, that guy. I wouldn't mind a Tesla. We have spent like $600 a month in gas since we moved here. For those of you that don't know, my commute is about 80 minutes one way. So, yeah, I'm not gonna buy a more fuel efficient car. We have a 2016 Ford Escape that gets like 27 or 28 miles to the gallon pretty consistently, so I drive that back and forth. But man, an electric car at this point sounds like a very nice idea. But it's worth it. The trade is prostate cancer, so stick with the gas bill. Yeah, maybe. Maybe I'll just line the bottom with lead, then I won't get cancer. So. Yeah, Nancy says I'm looking to put my money into land. That's right. That's right. There's a lot of it surrounding us. I'm hoping to purchase some more in the fairly near future, like the next 10 years. What we're kind of hoping is with the proceeds that we've made from this home sale, to kind of sit on them for a little bit and see if the market tanks. And when it tanks, maybe buy a small rental. Floribama Homestead says, well, time to get off. Good night. Good night. Sleep well. I'm probably going to start rambling here shortly because I'm quickly approaching my own bedtime. But the only problem, if you will, with land is it doesn't pay you. You still have to pay to own it. So I'm looking for things to bring me residual income. So we're hoping in the next 5 or 6 years to potentially purchase another small rental or two. But who knows? I mean, there might not be that type of thing in the next 3 or 4 years. We might not have electricity and YouTube in the next 4 or 5 years. Or it could correct and everything will be fine. So who knows? Just lick the lead and the blood poisoning protects from cancer. It might kill you faster, but meh. There's always something to kill you. So, yeah, an electric car stuck in a deadlock of a hurricane. Obviously, the electric car would not be my only thing, but I think Honda Insights from like 20 years ago, if I could find a used one that got 60 miles to the gallon on the highway for not too much, I might pick it up. But it's literally just to go back and forth to work. So, I'm okay with the vehicles we have, but what I need to do is be careful with my expenses is all. Oh, I did want to tell you guys that anything that you guys send to the channel, like the donations for the mic and stuff like that, will get directly put back into the channel. It's not used for anything else. We have very specific line items for all of our budgets, and very specific amounts go to very specific things. So everything sent for the channel gets put right back into the channel. So a diesel Jetta, woo, maybe. So Carolyn Smith says we may not be owning land or anything else in a few years, and that's it too, Carolyn. I mean, we can talk about what the best investment is and what's the quickest way to make the most money, but moth and rust and thief steal and destroy. So that's not where we put up for it, but it's not mine to begin with. We're just stewards of what we have. So there's no need to fear losing it because it's not yours to begin with. You're to be careful with it. You're to try and make more with it, right? If you guys remember the parable of the talents, the servant that was wicked was the one that went out and buried it in the backyard. So we're not going to bury our talents. We're going to do our best to expand them, but we do that so that we have more to give, more to share, and we can have a bigger impact on the world, not so that we can buy ourselves more things. So, yes, my wife is like some sort of crazy accountant woman. She is amazing. In so many ways. So many ways. So, Jeremy, I've had a Mac. Jeremy says, hey, David the Good, when are you going to talk this guy into a Mac? I've had a Mac. It was lovely. They're expensive. Haley says, any Flannel Farm shirts coming our way? Everyone loves a good shirt. Yes, actually, Haley, I'm glad you asked. I am, there's a couple designs we're looking at. Hey, Liberty Not Licensed. He says, money bores me. Yes, I get the necessity of it, but family and community hold my desires. Yes, absolutely. Show. There we go. Sorry. I had to allow a comment to be shown. It's so weird. No, do that. There we go. Okay. So, 35. So, we have, it's back to shirts, sorry. We have a couple designs that we're working with. I would like more than one design. So my nephew, David the Good Son, has made a design. And I'm working on getting that on the shirts, hoodies, maybe some mugs. And then a friend of mine, I think I'm wearing it now. Yeah, I am. Who made our Flannel Guys t-shirts, is working on a design that's similar to that I want for like the side of the truck and potentially for like website design, things like that. So we are looking at having actually 2 designs. So once I get those up, I'm hoping to do it in the next 7 to 10 days. I've actually had the designs for like 3 weeks, and I'm really bad at just sitting down at the computer and figuring out how it works. So yeah, I would love to have some Flannel Farms t-shirts. So, and I want to actually get a vinyl sticker and put it on the side of the truck, even though we're not going to farm sales or anything like that yet. But I'll leave it open for a few questions before we go. Maybe the next 5 minutes or so. If you guys have any questions, if you don't have any questions, then we can just end. I'm, like I said, somewhat tired. So you'll probably get the unfiltered version of whatever you ask. If you find that offensive, I don't apologize in advance because I'm not sorry. You clicked on my face. So Betty says, I was sent to property, 73 acres. Is that 3,500 an acre? East Tennessee, they must not know I'm broke. But you're rich in spirit. Oh my goodness. Yes, Joe, we're gonna get some merch going, I hope. I think I've answered all your questions, Jeremy, except for what you wanted me to say in the Russian accent. I don't remember, so. Good night, Rose Haven. Excuse me, again, words. Liberty, those would be very expensive. Right now I'm looking at t-shirts with the kind of the pattern in flannel. So I don't know if you could see it on the screen or not, but this is done in the buffalo plaid. So that's what we're planning on doing. I can't find anybody who makes flannel t-shirts. So now I would like to do flannel, like an actual flannel, long sleeve shirt, but I think those would be so expensive to start with. So, yeah, I don't know. Have we been able to eat anything out of our garden, Nancy? Yes, we have. I have eaten a few radishes, and actually I'm going to do a video on roasting radishes. If you guys haven't had a roasted radish, they are delicious. I think they're way better than regular. And we've had one of the turnips. It was very good. It's a little small, so it was very tasty. Where did it go? Somebody said, if my employer told me to express my sincerely held religious beliefs in 320 characters or less, what would you say? I think the Apostles' Creed is probably a bit long, Steve. But essentially something like that. I think that's too long. But I believe in God the Father, creator of heaven and earth, Jesus Christ, his only Son, lived perfect, born of a virgin, died for my sins, only way to heaven, the Holy Ghost, who is our helper, the baptism, sacrament of communion, and the resurrection from the dead. Is that 320? I think it's 320. Something like that. So, make sure you use any platform. Yeah, I don't want to watermark. So, the Modern Yeoman Sean says, what's your camera again? I really like the quality. I'm thinking of moving up from filming on my iPhone. Your iPhone does great. But I have a Canon 80D EOS. I'll show you. I know, I'm back. I left my own thing again. So that's it. And this is a 10 by 18 lens millimeter. And I have another one that I think is 15 by 40 or something, or 15 by 50. But this one I like because when I do, when I talk to you guys and I hold the camera up here, it doesn't feel like I'm like this. So this one actually gives me enough of a shot. It's almost like a fisheye, but not quite. But it does really good for showing panoramic type views also. So when I was plowing and disking the field, you got an idea of how big everything was. But if you wanted to show something, like if I wanted to go 15 feet away, I look this big in it. So I need a different thing. So my zone is like 8, I believe, because we're kind of on the coast of Virginia. So 7, 8, I think. Something like that. Russian accent or which is cooler? Well, it depends on what part of Russia. If Siberia is much colder, Midwest is a joke. Maybe a t-shirt with flannel print or a pocket. You know what I'd really like to do is those really warm, thick flannel with the hoodie on the back. I think those are great. But again, I want to start with affordable merchandise. So I think we're going to start with the t-shirt and some mugs and then expand into the hoodies and see what I can do. Obviously, if the channel gets big enough, I can contact a company. RGB is a follower, and she was recommending a couple different companies actually that make flannel products. And I'm hoping once we get big enough, which is going to happen, obviously, and you guys are the launch pad, of contacting them and see if I can do like a sponsorship where maybe they'll let me put the logo on their product. I don't know. I mean, I know I could just buy it and put it on there, but, you know, work like a wholesale kind of deal, make it a little cheaper. So, yeah, Liberty Not Licensed, that's not a garden, it's a food plot, grows venison by attraction. So, yeah, the field peas and the oats and stuff are coming up real good, and I'm catching deer on the trail cam, so it's only a matter of time. So, they stole our channel design and marked up the price, just weird. Huh. That's a bummer. Yeah, Sean does a great job with this phone. His camera stuff is... I don't know how many hours you spend setting up your camera just for the different angles you do, but my goodness. Yeah, it's more of a Minnesota. It's not really a Midwest, don't you know? And so it just happens to be what you do, you know. It's not that bad, but, oh gee, sometimes it snows out in the fields, and then, you know, your cows freeze. Oh well, it's sad. So, they put their channel name on the copies. That's really weird. The People's... Jeremy says, my brother, also a firefighter, has a screen printing business, side business out of the People's Republic of California. So, yeah... actually, Jeremy, the friend of mine that made this design and these shirts, her husband is a firefighter, and he and I worked together for several years. We're in the same department, but we were at the same station for quite a while. So it's good times. Good times. Any other questions before I go pass out? We should be able to do Monday, I think, for the next 2 or 3 weeks. My schedule rotates. So we'll aim for doing another one next Monday, and I think the Monday after that, and then we might have to switch for Tuesdays if that doesn't freak y'all out too bad for the 6 weeks or so, and then we'll be able to get back to Mondays. Sean, I also found interesting how bundled up you are, because I think you're south of me actually, but because we're close to the coast, we're warmer, so I haven't had to break out. I mean, a hoodie's been fine for the past couple weeks, so. Yeah. Oh, cool. Kelly has some eggs that are about to hatch this week. Love it. My birds, my youngest birds, I think are like a month and a half old now. I got to build another chicken tractor. But I already want to hatch more. But the roosters aren't big enough yet, so we'll have to wait. So, Red Cabin says, more truck talk on Monday. Got it. Actually, our next video is going to be, I'm going to try and do one on the waterer. We're switching over to the nipple thing, which just I haven't had time to do with the people that were coming over. I had to clean a lot. So we're going to switch over to the nipple waterer, see how they take to that. And I think I'm going to build a mobile egg mobile egg mobile, and maybe get some electric fence for the egg-laying birds and let them kind of free range further afield. We're going to try that. We haven't done that yet. So anyhow, well guys, thanks again for joining me. Thanks for encouraging me and having your comments and stuff. It really motivates us, and it means the world to us. So I'm going to order that mic once I get off of here, and whenever it ships, we'll have an unboxing video, and then we'll see what happens with our audio in the future. So thank you very much, guys. I hope you have a great night, and we'll talk again soon. And I hope to have a video up in the next maybe 2.5 days. Depends on my internet. I'm beholden. So anyways, bye guys. Love you too, brother. Bye.